Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you so much as always. I sincerely appreciate you. We have some more Christmas projects for today, so let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. All right, I have a form from the Dollar Tree. It's a football wreath form. I have some foam core that you can see I am cutting down to fit the base of that cylinder vase slash candle holder. And I am going to put this one piece right down on top of the wreath form. I'm not using this as a wreath, so you'll see in just a second what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to kind of create a flat surface there as best as I can. I'm just trying to make sure that it's going to end up being level in the end. So just adjusting as needed. And I'm going to grab my hot glue and drop a whole bunch of hot glue down into that crevice that's been created by forcing the foam down onto the wreath form. So once that's cool, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and I've cut the rest of my floral foam down into little pieces here, and I'm going to place them around the football form in strategic places so that I have a fair amount of coverage. And then I'll flip it back over again, and I'm going to secure it with hot glue just like I did that very first one. So now I've got a whole bunch of picks from my stash. Most of these are from Dollar Tree, but not all. And I'm securing, I'm sorry, I'm a little out of frame. I'm adding a whole bunch of hot glue to the bottom of my glass vase, and I'm going to secure that down to the floral foam. I put the glue on the vase in hopes that it would be less likely to melt my foam. So now I am coming in with some picks that I have cut down. These are like icy twigs from the Dollar Tree. I was starting to say before, most of my picks are from the Dollar Tree, but I do have some that are thrown in from Hobby Lobby that I've had in my stash for quite some time. But true to form, I am cutting everything down and just kind of sticking it in as needed. I'm starting at the base of the form and working my way up. And now I was just showing you that I've got these, they are evergreen ties. There's another word for them that is escaping me at the moment, but they're from the Dollar Tree as well. Garland ties, that's what I was looking for. And I am placing these strategically around the form as well. And I'm going to come in now with some Decor mesh from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make little bubbles with it. And they're going to be, I don't really measure things, you guys. I do everything by sight, but if I had to guess, I would say these are probably 8-inch lengths. So I'm just creating little bubbles and cutting it off, and then I'm tucking that end down into the little garland ties and twisting that off to make sure that they are nice and secure. And that's all I'm doing with those. And I'm going to create one of those little bubbles at every place I have a garland tie. Now I'm going to come in with more picks. I've got a whole bunch of poinsettia picks that I'm going to use. And then I've got some other flowers. I have pine cones. I have little beads, all kinds of different things that you're going to be seeing me use as we work our way through here. And I am just going to make sure that I am kind of spreading them out and around on the form so that everything is a little bit balanced. Now I've got these champagne flowers that I'm coming in with. They are also, I don't know what kind of flower they are. They look like little mini poinsettias to me, but and then coming in with, these are from the Dollar Tree as well. These are like, I don't know, they're like gold glittery twig things. I don't really know what they're supposed to emulate, but they're pretty and they're blingy. So this is going to have a little bit of bling in it. Not a whole lot, but some glitter here and there. And then some gold with these gold berries. These berries in particular are from the Hobby Lobby, I could tell you that. I'm looking here. I think it's those berries might be the only thing that ended up in this particular arrangement, so to speak, that were from the Hobby Lobby. I think everything else that you see here was from the Dollar Tree. There might have been a couple of pine cones that I'd gotten in a grab bag or grab box from Michael's. But I'm not even confident about that. I think most everything is pretty much from the Dollar Tree. I do have some white flowers that I'm trimming down now just to help make this lush and full, because I was starting to run out of my poinsettia picks. I'm going to have to replenish my stash on those. But you know what? You can use whatever types of flowers or greenery you want for this type of a project. Hopefully you've seen by now that this is going to be a centerpiece with a candle in the middle. Once I had it all set and ready to go, I grabbed some sand. This is just a natural sand color from the Dollar Tree. I was wishing that I'd used white sand. If I had to do it over again, I would use white, but you know, this worked out just fine. I dropped in a gold candle and this was done. DIY number 2. All right, this is going to be a quick and easy ornament. That is crushed glass filler right there that I'm opening up now. I had picked it up at the Dollar Tree Plus area in Dollar Tree when I was there in North Carolina visiting my son, and I had picked out the silver and the blue. This is a Dollar Tree little, I think it's part of a garland, but I'm coating it with gloss Mod Podge, and as you can see, I'm giving it a really heavy coat of the Mod Podge because I want there to be enough for the little glass filler stuff to grab onto. As you can see, I am covering it completely. I'm using a piece of parchment paper underneath so I can gather any remaining that gets shaken off, that I can put it back in the container later. I'm doing the same thing with this little mini snowflake sticker, also from the Dollar Tree. And once everything is dry, I'm going to add a little tie hanger with some silver Dollar Tree ribbon, and I had glued the ends just to keep them from unraveling, and then I tied a knot, and I'm just going to trim off the ends there. And I'm going to adhere the little mini snowflake to the center of the large snowflake. And this is done. Let me know what you think. DIY number 3. For this, I have a, I don't know what shape you would call this. It's kind of a flat circle, flat round. And then these little gift bags that I'm going to use to create this ornament. Now, I was hoping it might work for me to just tuck this in there. It turned out that the ornament was just slightly too large, so I'm going to cut this down, which is fine because I actually want the image on both sides of the, yeah, I was still trying to see if I could get it to work. It didn't work, you guys. But I wanted the image ultimately on both sides of the ornament, so I just used 2 of these little sacks, cutting it down with my my shears and just making sure that I am getting as much surface area as I can. There was a seam on both sides of this little sack, so I was just trimming it as close as I could to that little seam. Then I went ahead and started lining it up. I actually ended up flipping it sideways because it was going to fit a little bit better, trimming off a little bit more that was still some of the sewn part that was remaining. And as you can see here, I'm just flipping it, and I'm going to make sure that it's covering the whole surface area here. This ended up being the perfect size. I don't know how I was managing to move my camera just there, but sorry about that. Bear with me. I did get my finger protectors for this using some hot glue, just a little dab. I'm going to try and secure the top I'm not going to try. I am going to secure the top. Once that's cool enough so that I can pull on it without making it slide, I'm then going to secure the opposite end. And I'm going to keep making my way around kind of the halfway, midway points between each new point, if that makes sense, to just try and get this nice and smoothed out. And it's kind of like stretching a canvas, right? I'm just stretching it across the surface of my ornament and trying to get it as flat as possible. And this actually worked out really well. It didn't pucker nearly as much as I thought it might. So I was excited about that. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. That way our little ornament is double-sided, adhering it down and just trimming off some of the excess as I go. You can see the little scraps there on my surface. So I'm just trying to make sure that it meets along the edges there, along the sides, without too much excess. No overhang, because I want to make sure we can cover that up and hide it, which I'm going to do right now with this Dollar Tree ribbon. It's not even like a ribbon, it's more like a burlap or a woven, I don't even know what to call it, but I love it. I think it's so pretty. So using some hot glue, I'm going to just run a bead right along the edge here where my two pieces of the burlap, it's not really burlap, it's like canvas gift bags came together, and just camouflaging that seam with this ribbon. And I thought this turned out so super cute. It's kind of vintage looking, at least in my opinion. And yeah, no, I thought this was super sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up the top edge, make sure that everything is nice and neat. I'm measuring this off, trying to figure out where to trim it. I'm going to cut it right in between there, kind of at an angle to try to help it line up with the other trim that's already in place, because I want to have this look as seamless as I possibly can. So just applying that, and then I did the same thing on the other side. And this one is done too. All I have to do is pop the little hanger back on and we are done. Let me know what you think of this one. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Beautiful rose. I love this for a candle or ornaments that could be thrown in. Cute Grammy Sagmo. What an adorable wreath. I love that. And gorgeous Christine. This ornament wreath is absolutely beautiful. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. All right, I have a canvas and a metal joy sign and a piece of scrap book paper that I have left over, and then that mesh that's a hardware mesh, or I don't know, I call it rabbit cage caging stuff. I don't know. But I am going to remove the canvas from the frame here, just using my X-Acto knife and pulling that away. I'll set that aside for future potential projects. And I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out how I want to put this together. I had an idea, and then I realized I was going to need to kind of pivot a little bit with the execution. So I grabbed another frame, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pull that canvas off and get that ready to go. So now you can see I've got 2 frames that I can put together, and they are going to be completely clean on both sides. So now I'm going to take my, whatever you want to call this stuff, I know that there's another term for it. It's like hardware, I want to say blanket, and I don't know that that's right. But anyway, using my Tim Stips, and I'm going to cut off all those little pokey edges. And then I'm also going to cut it down to the width that I need. This is a scrap from another project I had done 2 weeks ago, I think. And I'm trying to remember what I did with that. Isn't that awful? I just did it 2 weeks ago. Oh, I made a gift box, like a gift out of it, and put lights in it and a bow on top. It was super cute. but this was a scrap. So I'm moving my camera again. I adhered that with my staples to the frame, and now I'm sandwiching it in between. I'm gonna pull out my my wood glue that I'm going to put a very generous coating on in just a moment, but I decided I wanted to remove the staples on this one side because they were just kind of getting in the way. This is already going to be a little bit tricky to seal up because the mesh is there. You probably saw me hammer in some of those other staples that were on this side. I didn't bother to remove the staples on this side, but I did think I was going to get away with leaving the staples in on the other one. So I've got this generous coat of wood glue, and now I'm sandwiching them together. I did flip it over to hopefully make sure that the glue kind of adhered to all areas around that grid, and I'm just placing some heavy paint cans on it to help hold it together while it's drying. So while that's happening, I took another frame that is exactly the same size, and I traced around it on my foam core board, and I'm just cutting that out. Then I'm going to trim that up a little bit more. I had just kept checking it with my frame, and I wanted to make sure that it was the right size. Now I'm going to cover that with my scrapbook paper. This is going to be the background to our project. So I have the mesh, the rabbit caging, whatever, sandwiched between the frames. And now this is going to be the background. So it's going to create kind of like a 3D effect. And I'm just cutting this down to make sure that it's going to cover my foam core board. I'm not worried about that notch in the paper because that's going to get completely covered up by the frame itself. So now I'm adhering the scrapbook paper with my, it's my, oh my goodness, it's from the Dollar Tree, double-sided tape. That's what I'm trying to say. Flipping that up, and I'm putting generous amounts of this on there because I don't want any bubbling, or I just want it to remain a nice smooth surface. And now I'm going to see how everything looks with my joy. I'm going to be adhering the joy to the mesh. So I'm counting the number of squares, just make sure I've got this lined up. And I'm going to set this down on something so that it remains flat up against the mesh, because if I were to put it on my tabletop surface, it would fall because of the frame. It's kind of lifted up. It would be lifted up off of the surface. Hopefully that makes sense. Using my hot glue to secure it there. And once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put the backing on here. So if you're going to do something like this, you want to make sure you adhere your letters first, because once you do this part, it would be really difficult to adhere whatever you're putting on the front of that. So now just using a generous bead of glue again. I had hinged this up to try and make sure that I kept it exactly where I wanted it so that it doesn't go off kilter. And here I'm just making sure that it's all lined up. It appears to be. Now the glue still isn't 100% dry, and I'm noticing that it's coming, like you probably saw it right there. I had to kind of squeeze it back together again, because I was trying to continue on with my crafting probably sooner than it was ready for me to. But what I'm going to do is grab out some clamps from my stash. So while I'm adhering this ribbon, which will also help keep it together while the glue is drying, it'll just help keep all of the pieces together. So I clearly have this ribbon. This is Kirkland ribbon. It's kind of like a burlap, but not really. It's a tighter weave than a burlap, but it kind of is burlap-esque. It's kind of like a burlap. I don't know how else to describe it, but I think it's really pretty. It's rustic looking. It doesn't have a lot of sheen to it. There's no glitter involved here, so I thought it would be a good match with the natural wood. You also could stain the wood. I opted not to for this particular project. I decided I wanted to keep the raw wood frame. But now I'm just going to run this all the way around, and you can see I'm putting it on both sides of the frame. And again, that's going to help keep this together while my wood glue is drying. So in addition to keeping the ribbon where it needs to be. So now I am working on the back side, and I am bending the ribbon over, and kind of like you would wrap a gift, and just making sure that it's all nice and secure. And this is also hiding the edges of that foam core board, making it all nice and clean. So once I have that done, I'm going to add some greenery to the top where I had the seam of the ribbon. I specifically put the seam at the top because I knew I wanted to put something up on top, and it was going to go ahead and hide the seam that I've got going on here. So adding some greenery, I just put a good amount of hot glue on the top there. And I am securing all of my little greenery pieces in there. And then I realized I wasn't quite on center, so I'm going to start sliding these a little bit over, which is also going to make room for the ribbon that I wanted to put on there. Now, at first I thought I was going to use this cute little red gingham check. I figured it would, kind of go with the background that I've got in there. So I did just kind of like a finger bow. It was 2 little loops on either side. I was getting it all fluffed up and everything. But then I'm going to check it out, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just not feeling it. It's not quite what I have in mind for this. So I grabbed out my jute cord and I made another finger bow. This time I wrapped it around probably 6 or 8 times, trimmed that off, cut another length to tie around the middle. And I felt like this went much better with the look and feel of this piece. It's a little bit more rustic, with all of the natural elements I have going on here with the metal and the raw wood. This just seemed to lend itself better to the project. So I put some generous amounts of hot glue on there. I did try again with the gingham. I thought maybe I could put it on top, and just wasn't doing it for me. So I left it off. But once I had that all nice and secure, all I had left was to create a little hanger for the back. Now this is stable enough that you could set it up as a shelf sitter, but I opted to add a little hook just to give options. So it could just stand up on its own on a table or a shelf, but this way I'm going to be able to hang it as well. This is wired jute cord that I am just gluing the tips so it doesn't fray and come unraveled. I was like, I better put my finger protector back on because it was poking me when I tried to twist it together there. Just a generous amount of hot glue underneath and then over top to kind of flood it so that it all comes together. And this is done. But let me know what you think of this one. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the projects. If you did, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one was your favorite. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.